What's going on, everyone? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this video. So again, if you guys have not been following me, the reason most of the videos I'm sitting like beside my bed right now is because we're in the process of painting the house and getting everything set up still. So where I normally will be recording will not be here, but for the time being. Anyways, let's jump into this. Okay, so just the other night, this tweet came up on Twitter from someone I follow, and it basically said, what is your most, it basically said, what is the most underrated Scooby-Doo movies in your opinion? And they listed their 4 that they could, and I shared my response. I shared the 4 that I could, and then I thought, you know what? This would actually make me an interesting kind of discussion video, I feel like. And I'm gonna include 5, just, you know, because that sounds a little better, you know, top 5 rather than top 4. So I'm adding one more that was not posted into Twitter. So I'm going to go through the list of what I believe are some of the most underrated Scooby-Doo movies. And that being said, these are ones that I just feel like aren't talked about enough, aren't remembered enough, aren't brought up enough. You know, just ones that kind of go under the radar of most people, which to a lot of average Scooby fans, I totally understand. You know, of course they're not going to watch every Scooby-Doo movie like us big fans, but I will say, in doing so, I feel like y'all do miss a lot of some hidden gems Scooby-Doo movies. So, this is in no particular order. I'm not saying like, oh, this is number 1, and you know, this is number 5 or whatever. I'm just pulling them as they are. But yeah, so let's get to the first one. Okay, number 1, I've been saying this for quite some time now, is Scooby-Doo Pirates Ahoy. I actually just recently did this movie in the podcast that I do with JB and Millie over on their channel called Smash or Pass. We just talked about this movie. If you have not checked out that podcast or that episode, please go check out their channel so you can listen in on all of our thoughts on this movie. But I was excited to get to this one just because, again, I feel like this is a very underrated Scooby-Doo movie in the sense that for the What's New Scooby-Doo era, it actually had kind of a creepy vibe at some parts. And the villain was, you know, pretty threatening, and there were a lot of moments within the movie that were a little more life-threatening moments for the gang than I guess most of the What's New kind of era, you know, portrayed. I also love that it was a pretty traditional mystery overall, but it did add this kind of twist enough that it makes it unique. I won't go into details in case you haven't seen this movie. You know, go check it out if you haven't, Scooby-Doo Pirates Ahoy. But just the fact that it, you know, brought in some elements to kind of spice up the traditional Scooby-Doo mystery while also keeping that Scooby-Doo traditional feel with it. And, you know, again, looking at the cover, I brought this up again in that podcast, but I'm going to bring it up again. Looking at the cover, you have no idea that any of this has to do with the Bermuda Triangle, unless you read the back. Then it brings it up. But just looking at the cover art itself, you have no idea this has anything to do with the Bermuda Triangle. And I love that aspect in this movie. I am kind of a sci-fi nerd sometimes. You know, I like stuff like this, and I like theories and stuff, and I like the Bermuda Triangle, you know, it's whatever. But here's the first one. Alright, again, in no particular order, we have Scooby-Doo Abracadabra Doo. So this was the first movie with Matthew Lillard taking over for Casey Kasem as his health was unfortunately, you know, going downward. And this is also the first one out of the What's New Scooby-Doo kind of era and animation. They redid the animation in this movie to kind of fit more so with the original series look, you know, just modernizing it, and it brought back their original outfits, costumes that we're also used to them being in. This kind of went back to like the late 1990s movies, you know, the original 4, as we all referred to them as, you know, Zombie Island through Cyber Chase, but just in atmosphere at least, it brings such a darker tone to Scooby-Doo that we hadn't seen for a minute, you know, if you were watching these through release order. And I really appreciate it for that. There are definitely creepy moments in this movie. I will say, some things that throw it off for me is Madeline Dinkley, who is Velma's sister that we meet. She kind of throws off the vibe for me personally sometimes in this movie. But also the end, the whole reveal and how it, you know, I don't know. The reveal I feel like isn't the best in this movie, and it also kind of throws it off. But overall, the tone of the movie I think is what really makes this one stand out. And a lot of people don't talk about this one quite as much. They do talk about the one that releases after this, which is Scooby-Doo Camp Scare, which that one also keeps the darker tone, which I love. But again, that one's a lot more talked about than this one, so I definitely think this is an underrated one. Alright, next, I know I'm going to be alone in this one, but I'm going to do Scooby-Doo Music of the Vampire. So this, again, is pretty much in the same animation as Abracadabra Doo. But the tone had gotten a little lighter since then, and this is a musical. This movie is a musical. And if you don't know me, I love musicals, okay? Like movie musicals, love them, sucker for them. Anytime there's like a musical anything, I love it. So, I love Scooby-Doo Music of the Vampire because it is a musical movie, and I think it really gave a cool twist on Scooby-Doo's formula. I do feel like there were a little darker tones in this movie too that I really appreciate, and if you really paid attention, well, more so if you got older and rewatched it, I guess, there are some things that were going to happen to Daphne that you're just like, yeah, that person better go to jail. I really enjoy this movie. Again, the little messages that you don't really get until you're older. The music, I love the music in this movie. One of my favorite songs, Done with Monsters. I love that song. I don't know if you guys have heard or if I brought it up much on my channel, but back when this movie came out, me and my best friend that I had at the time literally memorized every word of that song. We each had our parts, and that song is just like ingrained into me, and I will forever love it. And this movie is definitely in my top 10 Scooby-Doo movies, I will say. Okay, next we have Scooby-Doo Mask of the Blue Falcon. Now, this one I feel like is underrated for some different reasons than I've said in the last few. I say this one is underrated mainly for the Hanna-Barbera kind of mix into it. I mean, I know it clearly says in the title, Blue Falcon, but just the fact that, you know, they pull a lot of different Hanna-Barbera characters into this movie, whether it just be in the background or they talk about it, but also just bringing back Blue Falcon and Dynamite and kind of giving them their own movie within Scooby-Doo. Now, I know they do kind of change up the character of Blue Falcon and Dynamite a little in that they are actors. You know, it was all a TV show in their universe type of thing. But I will say the villain, Mr. Hyde, again, pulled out from Blue Falcon, the original Dynamite show, is creepy. He has a really creepy opening. I feel like the opening to this movie is creepy. You know, we like see this huge smoke bomb almost, and like people are just being dragged into it. Like, it's creepy. He's creepy, I feel like. Maybe it's just me, but I just really like how well they kind of did a superhero movie almost with this, you know, and again referencing all the different Hanna-Barbera properties out there and kind of mixing them in. I don't know, this one's just a movie that's a lot of fun that I feel like is very under the radar. You know, it's not brought up a lot, but one other thing I want to bring up, I recently learned what this movie originally was going to be. And I honestly can't decide if I would have wanted the original idea or what it is. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. But this movie originally was going to be about not Blue Falcon and Dynomutt, but rather Commander Cool and Mellow Mutt from a pup named Scooby-Doo. I think that would have been cool just to kind of reference and have this connection, you know, but you guys let me know. Would you rather seen a Commander Cool and Mellow Mutt Scooby-Doo movie, or do you like the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt aspect? Let me know in comments below if you've seen it. Alright, we have one more to go in this top 5 most underrated Scooby-Doo movies, in my opinion, and that is Scooby-Doo Stage Fright. Alright, so I actually recently rewatched this not too long ago, and every time I watch it, I forget how good it is. I'm like, this is what I want my Scooby-Doo movies to be, you know? So in this movie, it is kind of Scooby-Doo's version of Phantom of the Opera. I know that this movie gets kind of compared to that a lot, but how can you not? I really like the creepiness aspect of this movie. I will say though, like, organs, like piano organs and stuff, really freak me out. Just like the tunes and stuff really freak me out. But honestly, the Phantom itself had a creepy laugh, creepy voice, had a creepy presence to it. And so I really liked how they were able to have this creepy aspect to this movie with it being the villain doing it. You know, it's not necessarily the atmosphere around, but more so it was the villain making it creepy. And I also really like the twist in it. I don't always love when they do these types of twists. I won't bring it up again in case you haven't seen it, but I feel like they did it very well in this one. I want to say the one that I don't feel like it did well, but I don't want to spoil it. Just skip ahead 5 seconds. Loch Ness Monster. Feel like it's that way. Overall, I really like this. My one big complaint about this movie is they really advertised it as if we were going to finally get this major development of Daphne and Fred's relationship, and then it's seen throughout the movie too. We have this whole arc of Daphne wanting to finally admit how she feels to Fred and everything, and then it goes nowhere after this movie. Like, it does not continue whatsoever. It was like this one-time thing, and I feel like that really bogs the movie down, because it's like, why is she all of a sudden obsessed with Fred and then not, you know? So I will say that's one of its biggest downfalls, I will say. But overall, I think this is such an underrated Scooby-Doo movie. And the opening song, On the Case, is a bop and a half. So guys, that's what my top 5 most underrated Scooby-Doo movies are. I'd love to know if any of these make your list, but I'd also love to know what your lists are of your top 5 underrated Scooby-Doo movies are. Again, this is all everybody's opinion, so be nice. But I want to know, which movies do you believe are super underrated within the catalog of Scooby-Doo movies? Because there are a ton. So please comment down below. I'd love to see your list, and we can chat, you know, talk about the different Scooby-Doo movies. I know there are some others I would love to add if I were to do like a top 10 maybe. But these are just my top 5. I'll hurry and say a few runner-ups for me. I will say Moon Monster Madness, Franken Creepy, and probably Aloha Scooby-Doo. So those are some runner-ups from me. So guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you all liked it. If you did, hit that like button. It's always appreciated. If you're new here, press that subscribe button. It's free. And I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye. I can't cover the camera lately because you guys are so far. Soon.